Welcome to Sunlight Sessions, where we bring health and knowledge into the light. I'm your host, Raman, and today we're diving into a topic that beautifully bridges science and the intuition, and that is the gut-brain connection. And joining me today is someone whose wisdom I deeply admire. Stephen Horne is a registered master herbalist, Chinese herb specialist, iridologist, and the doctor of natural medicine. Few individuals are as knowledgeable in herbal medicine and nature sunshine products as he is. For over 30 years, he's been teaching people the art and the science of herbal healing, empowering others to take charge of their health naturally. He is a past president of the American Herbalist Guild. He has shared his teachings all over the world, and it is such a pleasure to have you on this Sunlight session, Stephen.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Okay. So we've heard people say, trust your gut. But what if that phrase was more scientific than we realized? And lately, everywhere I'm looking, I'm seeing people talk about healing their gut. There's so many videos out there, wellness trends talking about bloating hacks, the gut shots with apple cider vinegar, eating more fermented foods, and just entire routines dedicated to resetting our gut. And gut health has become this massive trend. It's fascinating, but behind this fascinating trend, I feel like there's a lot of science. So, Stephen, if we can start with the basics, what exactly is gut health? What is the gut brain connection? What are the main things we need to know about it? Because there's so many things and we can just go into so many details and so scientific, but can you just break it down for us?
Well, I don't know if I'm the expert on the science of it, but I do understand it. I mean, one of the things that's interesting is when I got involved with natural healing, they focused a lot on the idea of intestinal detoxification. And I don't think we understood back then as much about what that really means, because
Right.
the idea was is that your colon, got impacted with all this material and you had to clean it out. But we have a better understanding of it now, and it really has to do with two main things: the gut microbiome, and then the gut membranes, the lining of the gut, how integrous is the lining of the gut, and both of those things are very interrelated, because if you get too many of the wrong kind of bacteria growing in your intestines, it causes your intestinal wall to become more permeable, and then you absorb more things that your body shouldn't be absorbing, and it kind of activates your immune system and kind of messes that up. But the gut brain connection is the idea that all of that we just talked about, the health of the intestinal membrane and the microbiome, are also connected to our mind, primarily by a vagus nerve, which is the main nerve in the parasympathetic nervous system that runs all the automatic processes of your body. So your all of those processes going on behind the scenes are regulating your heart rate, blood pressure, etc. So your through the vagus nerve, your gut is influencing the function of your brain. What the messages coming from your gut are telling the brain information. Plus, there's also neurotransmitters that are produced in the gut that go through the bloodstream up to the brain. And then, of course, the brain regulates the gut too, because it's also regulating your peristalsis and your digestive secretions and so forth. So there's this interaction. And when people have done this, traditionally done this, procedures to, clean out your intestines, work on improving your gut health, one of the things that you notice, and I noticed it when I did it, is your brain becomes clearer. It's like you think more clearly, your mind is more functional, and your mood improves. And there's a lot of research now showing that the kinds of microbes in your gut and the health of that gut membrane are influencing your mood. It can cause you to become more anxious, more uh, discouraged, give you kind of brain fog where you can't think and concentrate properly. And so we're now understanding that intestinal health is as important as the tradition says it is. I mean, it's incredibly critical not just to the health of our body, but also the health of our mind and our mood.
Makes sense. So when we say we feel it in our stomach, it's actually it's actually real. Like we're actually
Yeah,
feeling it because
well,
everything is connected.
we do
And
have
yeah,
instincts.
right. We have instincts, gut feelings. Like we know
Yeah,
when something is gonna be like something's wrong, we feel it. And it's not just because we're feeling it, it's actually because it's everything's interconnected. And I think
right.
that's really important.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, we have three brains. We have our brain up in our head, we have our heart,
Right.
which acts as
Hmm.
an emotional brain, and our gut is the gut instinct brain.
Oh,
It's where we have our gut impulses, and also our gut lets us know, you know, when things aren't right. We have these gut feelings like, it doesn't feel good, or that's uncomfortable. And we need to learn to pay attention to that because those are important messages.
yeah. So I was gonna get to that second brain and you just covered it. Is it true that it has like more than 500 billion neurons, more than our spinal cord? And can it work independently from the brain? Like I've also read that too.
Yeah, I don't know how many neurons are there, but I do know that there are more of certain neurotransmitters like serotonin
Hmm.
present in the gut than are present in the brain. And I do believe that there is some independence in the different centers of our nervous system. Um, and I separate, there's two kinds of feelings we have. There's emotional feelings, which you think of as kind of a heart thing. And then there's these gut feelings that are more related to our physical body. I mean, one of them is hunger, thirst, uh, those kind of things. But there's also an instinct for danger, for example. You you get this tensing of your solar plexus that knots up when something's wrong, and then it relaxes when things are okay. So yeah, there is an intelligence there that's instinctual. I mean, how do animals know what plants to eat and what plants to not eat? It's instinct, and that
Right.
instinct resides in your gut, and the intelligence is in your gut.
Okay.
It's a
Uh,
pre-programmed intelligence.
yeah. I want to go back to the microbiome. So I was reading and they're saying that there are certain strains of bacteria called psychobiotics, I feel like, that they help reduce anxiety and balance mood. Um,
I,
is
Again,
that
I don't
true?
I don't know the specific kinds of microbes, but there
Mhm.
is a lot of evidence that different microbes in your gut are going to influence your mood. Like some are going to cause anxiety, some are going to cause depression. If you're the kind of microbes also influence your food cravings.
Okay.
So if you are eating a lot of sugar and fine carbohydrates and everything, you'll grow bacteria that like to eat that stuff. And then they release chemicals that influence your nervous system, goes up to your brain and makes you want more of that. It says, feed me. Okay. And that's one of the reasons why it's so hard to break the addiction to bad food is because
Because of,
your gut is communicating the bacteria are wanting that. So you have to actually change the microflora in your gut in order to be able to change food craving. So you eat more of the healthy kind of food. After a few weeks, you start to crave that because you start growing different species of bacteria in your intestinal tract. And those bacteria are start sending messages saying, give me fruits, give me vegetables, give me protein,
right.
not the refined uh, foods. So, like I said, I don't know the science well enough to say, like which species of bacteria are doing what. In fact, I think there's just a lot of research, coming out about different strains of probiotics and what they do. But I mean, even certain things that we think of as parasites
Hmm.
actually sometimes seem to have beneficial effects in small numbers. The one thing I do know is that the gut, the microbiome has almost been considered like it's a separate organ of the body. You have 2 or 3 pounds of bacteria in your intestinal tract.
Okay.
Um, Half the weight of your stool is
Mm.
bacteria.
That's very interesting.
And so you've got this tremendous thing. And there are like the more diverse it is, the healthier you are.
Okay, so diverse microbiome means more emotional flexibility, you have more stability, you have a clear mind, everything just works together. Okay.
Yeah. So
And
you
yeah,
know,
go ahead.
the typical ones that you get in supplements, but the part of the reason why our microbiome is so screwed up is because we over sterilize everything.
That's true.
I mean, there's evidence, for example, that children who grow up on a farm and are around animals all the time and dirt and everything have fewer allergies, better immunity, etc. And kids who grow up in sterilized homes where everything is, uh, sprayed with disinfectants and they're not exposed to any germs or bacteria, actually have more allergies and immune problems than children who have exposure to dirt. We need dirt. Dirt is the when you're growing a healthy garden, the microbiomes and the microbes in the soil are part of the microbiome of the soil, and that determines the health of the plants. So the more diverse the microbiome is in the soil, the healthier the plants. And our gut is like the soil of our body that's providing the nutrients, and those different microbes having a diverse kind actually improves your overall health and mood.
That's really interesting because I remember growing up now, like looking back as what you said, my parents were born and raised in India, right? So they grew up in dirt and all that. So when we were growing up, me and my brother, my parents would encourage us to go play outside and get dirty and play with the dirt because they're like, you're building your immune system. And now, once you said that, that makes sense. Like, we
Yeah,
need that. And parents these days, myself included, I think we're just like, oh, don't like that's really dirty. That's where the germs come from. Like we over clean and sterilize, like you said.
we do. I mean, and so it's true that, improved sanitation, prevented a lot of contagious disease, but that's, primarily clean water and
Right.
disposing of sewage properly. But dirt is really good for you. My mom used to say you need to eat a peck of dirt before you die. I guess that, but I don't know if that was a joke, but it's just people didn't like thoroughly scrub their vegetables either. When you take and you scrub and you peel
Right.
the out external layer, actually there's friendly bacteria on those little root hairs. And so, you pull a carrot out of the ground, just wash it and eat it. You're actually getting a diverse amount of probiotics and organisms. But when you scrub it, sterilize it, and then peel it when you get it home, you've gotten rid of all that.
Right. That's true. That's really interesting because I know like eating highly processed foods and sugars can change a person's personality traits over time. They become more irritable or anxiety. How early in life does this connection begin, like that gut-brain connection? Is it from birth right away, or is it like takes few years to
Yeah,
develop?
I went to actually got to speak at a probiotics conference once
Hmm.
and sat in and listened to a lot of the other people talk, learned a great deal about the microbiome. And what's interesting is the beginning of your microbiome comes from a vaginal birth. The baby swallows some of the material that from the mother's body, and that actually begins the development of the microbiome. And then the second part is nursing.
Right.
So, and this was what was fascinating to me. Look, have you ever thought about, okay, if you take natural milk, okay,
Hmm.
and you just and it's not been pasteurized, sterilized, or whatever, and you put it in a warm place, it will turn into a fermented milk product. It
Yeah,
won't spoil.
the curd or the yogurt.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and it will do that naturally because a healthy milk
Oh,
raised
because
from a healthy animal has
those bacteria.
lactobacillus.
Yeah,
Okay, how does it get there? Because mammals, their white blood cells pluck bacteria from the mother's digestive tract and carry them to the breast and dump them into the breast milk.
wow,
So
that's really
basically,
fascinating.
when you're nursing, you're getting inoculated with all of the bacteria that are from your mother's gut.
Okay.
And so that is
That's
the other thing. So if you think of the kids who are born cesarean,
hmm
aren't breastfed, so if you start off that way, you've already got a bad beginning to your microbiome. And then you start giving kids sugar and processed foods and everything at a very early age, you're contributing to getting the wrong kinds of bacteria, add antibiotics and all the other things we do. And we wind up with a very unhealthy microbiome.
right.
Um,
So
and
that would increase the risk of like allergies, I'm assuming,
allergies, autoimmune,
anxiety,
and
autoimmune,
anxiety, nervousness, neurological conditions. There's a lot
even
of evidence. Like, for example, there's a diet called the GAPS diet, gut
mhm,
and psychology diet, where they've taken and worked on healing the gut, getting the right kinds of food in there, altering the microbiome, and kids with, learning disorders or whatever get better. So that's a huge thing, showing that there's a way bigger impact on this than a lot of people would imagine. I remember one time I was at Disneyland and I saw a mother putting Coca-Cola into a baby bottle and giving it to her child. And I was just like, I just wanted to go over there and say, what do you think you're doing?
I I've seen something very similar. Like we have a friend and I won't say her name, but like she will take ginger ale, not all of it. She'll just take a little bit and then she'll put a little bit of water and to dilute it. But then in my head, I'm just like, why are you doing that? Like you're still giving, like you shouldn't be giving that at all, even though it's diluted. But you like I can't say anything. I just look and I'm like, okay, like oh,
Yeah,
that
you're right from the beginning. You're putting in all this
yeah,
chemicals, all this sugar,
right.
and all of that is destroying the microbiome. So you look around, okay, um, and there's been this huge increase. Okay, well, as we improve, I've seen graph of it, as you improve sanitation, the contagious diseases went down,
hmm
but at the same time, you had allergies and autoimmune diseases rising because it went we overcompensated, you know, and so the body not being exposed to a sufficient number of microbes, it becomes overly sensitive to things. The immune system has to learn what is really harmful and what is not. And it learns that by being exposed to a wide variety of microbes in the gut over time. And it goes, okay, that's nothing to worry about. That's nothing to worry about, blah, blah, blah. Um, but when you don't, when you have this limited population, then that doesn't happen. And the other thing is, of course, the lactobacillus. They're called lactobacillus because they produce lactic acid, which is what makes yogurt have its kind of
Fermentation. Yeah. Yeah.
sourness in there. Lactic acid holds down bad bacteria and other harmful microorganisms to your gut. So if you have a good amount of the right kind of bacteria, they're actually protecting you from other microbes. And one of the other things that I learned at that probiotic conference, which is something I did not know, is that bacteria colonize. So you know that stuff that the dentist scrapes off your teeth?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the bad stuff.
yeah.
The plaque.
It's
I
the
don't know if
plaque.
it's yeah, the
It's
plaque.
not,
Yeah.
yeah, the plaque is bio is in biofilm.
Okay.
So bacteria, when they colonize the surface,
hmm
they create a housing complex for themselves. They exude things to make this layer of material in
hmm
which they can live, okay, and protect themselves from things. And that stuff you get on your teeth is an example of biofilm. Well, guess what? They colonize the mucous lining of your digestive tract.
Okay.
They literally coat it.
Okay.
And that is part of the barrier between what's in your intestinal tract and what's getting into your body. So you can colonize bad bacteria and yeast, or you can colonize good bacteria. So
Okay.
I saw a study once where, see, if you get on a diet where you're getting the right kind of microbes in your body,
Mhm.
you'll get dental plaque, but you won't get any tooth decay or cavities from it because you'll
Oh,
colonize the right kind of bacteria in your mouth.
that's very interesting.
that Weston Price, when he was touring uh, 6 of the 7 continents in the world and checking people, all of the native people's teeth were caked with plaque, but they had no gum disease or cavities
because they're
because
eating
because the good bacteria had
it.
colonized their body, not the bad bacteria. And I wonder if that's also true with your sinuses and everything else like that, with getting the right kind of microbes. So the right kind of microbes are really beneficial to us. Just some of them are not. So
Right, right. That's true. Um, okay, speaking about leaky gut,
yeah.
how do you know that you're like experiencing a leaky gut? Like someone my age who has fairly eats pretty good. How do I know like, okay, I'm experiencing a leaky gut? Like how would I know? Like what are
If
the the
the first
key
thing to
things?
say is if you have the wrong kind of bacteria growing in your gut, you have leaky gut. And one way to know that that's the case is if you get a lot of belching, bloating, gas, or kind of irritable indigestion kind of symptoms after you eat, especially after you eat um, carbohydrates.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And because if you have those bacteria, they're going to cause leaky gut. The leaky gut can also be caused by intestinal inflammation. But I would say the best way to tell it if you have it then is you'll experience brain fog and your head won't be clear. You'll feel this kind of like get these slumps where you can't think clearly and you just
Hmm.
feel tired and your mood isn't good and you don't have any specific reason why it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if that's the case, I think you really need to work on your intestinal tract.
And what can we do to like what are the main things we can do? Like what can we
Well,
take? Like I know with supplements, like I think people like myself, like consistency. I think that's the problem with me in general. Like I need to be consistent, but like I know with supplements, you have to take them for a very long time. You have to take them consistently. You have to be patient and you have to basically try to heal what's damaged inside. But how can you fix, like, what would you recommend?
well, I mean, first of all, I highly recommend giving up 2 things as much as you possibly can. Kind of hard to avoid it completely, but refined sugar
Hmm.
and other, like white flour, that kind of just plain simple refined starches, and processed vegetable oils,
Okay.
hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated vegetable oils, um, in favor of uh, fruits, vegetables, and protein, and also things like butter and coconut oil and so forth, because the short to medium chain fatty acids that are present in those actually help feed the microbiome.
Okay.
Um, so they're healthy. Second thing is if you have the belching, bloating kind of stuff, you need to kind of try to knock down the bad bacteria in your intestinal tract.
So
So
we would be consuming more probiotics, like
no, you
a
start with something that helps to knock down the not friendly bacteria. Howdy is one, herbs like that.
okay, so
Um,
focus on the herbs.
I'm trying to remember when I'm
Yeah.
talking in Canada, have to think about what stuff you have available,
That makes
but
sense.
you
Yeah.
have this uh, formula that is the HP Fighter, I think it's called in Canada, that has things
Um,
like clove, uh, Howdy, stuff like that.
okay.
Um, those kind of herbs that
Hmm.
are kind of gut health herbs will help to kind of adjust and tweak the microbiome. And
Okay.
after you've taken those for a little bit, then you start taking your probiotics.
Okay.
Um, but you also have to take your prebiotics, which you've got to give them food
Food.
to eat.
Right.
Uh, and so you need your like inulin, which is in a lot of herbs that have been traditionally used to just improve health, like dandelion,
Hmm.
burdock root, chicory root, etc. That's a prebiotic that actually helps feed the kind of bacteria that you want growing in your intestinal tract. Fiber, getting adequate dietary fiber, maybe adding a little bit of a fiber supplement. That really helps to feed those microbes so that they start to properly colonize. The other thing you want to make sure is that you've got sufficient digestive enzymes, because one of the ways your body protects itself in the immune system is that hydrochloric acid in your stomach and your digestive enzymes help to get rid of harmful microorganisms before they get into your intestinal tract. And when you have low stomach acid, you're more likely to get an overgrowth of bacteria in your intestines. And so a lot of people over 50 don't have that. So they need an enzyme supplement with some betaine, hydrochloric acid in it to help them with that too. And I just recently did all this. I was having intestinal problems because in my wife's family, they love all the refined carbohydrates. So they're always like, oh, my wife makes something. So, oh, just try a little bit. Just a little,
Yeah, just try a little bit. Yeah.
My
No
problem is
pressure.
I start eating that, and then I start craving it again. When I get away
Right.
from it, I don't crave it at all. And so I've been being pretty strict about, not eating that stuff.
Hmm.
And I then, also took stuff to knock down the microbes and everything. And I've been regularly consuming stuff that's been feeding the healthy bacteria. And what's good about it is that I don't have to take anything to get my bowel to move, because the right kind of bacteria will naturally make your bowel work properly. When you have diarrhea or constipation, you probably have
A
an
leaky gut.
imbalance in
Yep.
leaky gut and an imbalance in the gut microbes. Once you get the right kind of microbes in there, things will move through without any problem at all.
Okay.
And chlorophyll is another thing that actually helps, especially when you're trying to do the detoxification part.
Hmm.
If you're getting less than one bowel movement a day,
Yep.
or your colon transit time is really slow, like
Hmm.
um, the food you eat should be passed through your body in 18 to 24 hours max.
Okay.
That's healthy. The average person has a colon transit time of about 72 hours.
Whoa, that's crazy. That's a lot. That's a huge
So
difference.
so sometimes in the beginning you need to take something to increase the colon transit time just to get
Hmm.
things moving.
Moving. Yeah.
But once it's moving, you really don't want to continue to take that stuff. You want to try to get the microbiome. And as I've been getting the microbiome healthier in me, I notice I don't have any problem, haven't needed anything to keep the colon working properly.
Okay,
Um,
so adding chlorophyll is a absolute
it,
yes, if you can.
it's absolute. It helps reduce the odor of the detoxification. It also just, I don't know, it just seems to help overall the health.
I love it. And I want to ask you about bitters, like dandelion. Like, how do they tie into the gut-brain axis? Because
Um,
bitters were always traditional, right? Like they were like the
yeah,
early gut-brain medicine that existed. And now it seems like bitters actually they're really good for us.
yeah, that's interesting because we have receptors for the bitter taste,
Hmm.
both in our mouth and also in our gut.
Oh, I
In
didn't
fact,
know about the gut.
it's likely that we have receptors for the gut reading what kind of food we ate, like the taste buds on the tongue saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's got a lot of sugar, it's got salt, it's got
Mhm.
bitters or whatever in the intestines," so it signals what it needs. But the bitter flavor, the 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 chemicals
Yeah.
that create a reaction of the bitter taste buds
Hmm.
also stimulate your liver to clean itself out. Um, they have a mild effect on stimulating intestinal peristalsis. Um, and they also stimulate your digestive secretions. Like they tend to stimulate your bile to flow better. They tend to stimulate your pancreatic enzymes, hydrochloric acid, etc. So if you take bitters, like especially if you're taking it in a liquid form,
Hmm.
you know, about 20 to 30 minutes before you eat, it'll stimulate your appetite. It'll stimulate um, your gut. It'll stimulate your intestines. It'll really help you function properly. As we tend to, the only bitters that most people eat regularly are coffee and chocolate,
Yeah,
but they sweeten them up so much that it
it
negates
loses.
the effect of it.
That's true.
You've got to have enough of the bitter flavor left to make it
Have its
work.
effect. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're always trying to cover the bitter. But yeah, I
And I have,
yeah,
as far as I would just add something about that psychologically, I think we have a culture where we don't know how to take the bitter with the sweet. And I think kind of psychologically, taking your bitters is like, hey, life isn't always easy. We have difficult experiences, deal with it. I think it says to your body the same thing. Hey, everything isn't sweet, everything isn't pleasant. Um, Deal with it.
right, that's true. Deal with it. Take your bitters.
Take your bitters.
Okay, interesting. I want to go deeper on the vagus nerve. You mentioned it and you said it's like a highway disconnection. Can you talk more about it?
Yeah, I recently just started researching that because I'm fascinated in it. Uh, and so the vagus nerve is the parasympathetic branch of your um, autonomic nervous system, and it comes down from the base of your skull down through your body. It has branches that go off to your heart and lungs.
Mhm.
There's a big plexus down at the area we call your solar plexus right here
Right.
that goes into your stomach and digestive organs, adrenal kind of thing. And then it goes down and goes through your gut and then down, of course, into your urinary passages and so forth. And has these different ganglia, like smaller brains,
Mhm.
that were bundles of nerve fibers that go out to these different organs. So there's like one that goes to your heart and one that goes to your lungs, one going into your digestive organs. And we all know that when you're stressed, your sympathetic nervous system gets activated and your parasympathetic nervous system gets suppressed.
Right.
So if you think about how much stress and pressure most people in modern society are under,
That's all the time.
yeah, their
Because we
vagus
get,
nerve
yeah, we're
is,
rewarded for being under pressure, I feel
yeah,
like.
and we don't have enough time for the R&R
Mhm.
to be calm.
Right.
And so you've got to activate the parasympathetic nervous system more, have good digestion, have good heart rate, have good respiratory function, and good digestion. So one thing that's really bad for us in related to what we're talking about is this tendency we have to eat on the run. And I know I have
Yeah.
to fight that in myself. You're
Guilty as charged.
busy. You're gonna
Yeah.
gobble something down really
Yeah.
fast, and traditionally families would sit around the dinner table
Hmm.
and talk and relax and eat together, right?
Right. Right.
So while we were living in my trailer, my wife and I, um, it's a really small space, and of course
Hmm.
we sat down at the table and ate together, and you know what? My digestion functioned so much better with
Yeah.
with taking the time to sit down and have a meal and take your time and not be rushing off to the next thing. And so there are nervine, obviously, herbs that help to um, increase parasympathetic activity. And a lot of them also help digestion. So that's an interesting thing. Like chamomile, for example, is a really good example of this. Chamomile is an herb that
Hmm.
has been used to kind of calm you down when you're nervous, irritable, and stressed, but it also helps you digest food. And it, the flower essence indication for it is well, Matthew Wood actually recommends it for the herb in general, not just the flower essence, for people who are peevish and irritable. Um, and it it helps the solar plexus, I think, for promoting a more calm, sunny, even disposition and a more relaxed digestive function. It also is anti-inflammatory and helps heal the gut lining, especially with licorice root. So chamomile is an example of a really good herb that I think works on the vagus nerve
Mm-hmm.
with the gut and the brain. And another one is peppermint.
Peppermint. Okay.
Um, Peppermint has been traditionally used. They've, what's called enteric coated peppermint has helped with peppermint oils helped with irritable bowel, which is definitely related to the gut-brain axis. And um, and basically, all you have to do to make enteric coated peppermint oil is put peppermint oil into some coconut oil or other fat, and then eat it. Because what you're doing is you're making the oil coated
Mm-hmm.
with fat, and it doesn't get released into the body till the bile
Later.
salts and pancreatic enzymes hit it in the small intestine, so it gets released down in the small intestines. Anyway, but peppermint uh, also helps clear your brain. Like I put a drop of peppermint oil on the back of my tongue, and
Mm-hmm.
it's, it helps to alleviate that brain fog. So
Okay.
peppermint traditionally, if you've got brain fog associated with indigestion, that's a really good indication for peppermint.
Okay.
And so peppermint helps you digest things both physically and mentally. It again, it has that reflection of the gut brain axis, right? Helps both the mind and
And
the digestion.
digestion.
Um,
Would peppermint tea work as just as
Peppermint
good as the
tea is,
oil or
yeah,
no?
peppermint tea is really good for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, uh, uh, and so I would recommend actually taking it as a tea rather than,
No, yeah.
a capsule of peppermint oil. I mean, chamomile tea also works better than just taking chamomile capsules because
Um,
again, the taste, it's a little bit aromatic and bitter, which is going to give you a little bit of that bitterness to stimulate your digestive secretions. And one other one is St. John's wort.
St. John's wort. Okay. I'm writing
St.
these
John's
down
wort.
because like I didn't
St.
know
John's wort
this.
definitely influences the gut-brain axis. Uh, it's traditionally used for both anxiety and depression, but it's also used to regulate the solar plexus and help you tune into your gut instincts. And that's another problem I think we have is we're not paying attention to our gut instincts. If you start to feel tight right in down here,
Mm-hmm.
you need to stop and go, what's happening?
Okay. Yeah, we tend
What's
to
wrong?
ignore our
We can't
body's
we are
signals.
we need to start paying attention better to our body's signals and not just uh, it's kind of like the way we treat our bodies is like you own a car and you start hearing rattling or knocking in the engine or a check engine light comes on and you go, no, but I've got to keep going. I don't have time to go take it into the mechanic. I don't have time to do it. We just push and push and push ourselves.
Right.
We don't pay attention to these early warning signs that things are not working very well. And we keep pushing ourselves, and we're trained to take a pill to suppress it. You know, antacid to suppress the
Oh,
acid indigestion, painkillers to relieve the headaches, and all these little minor things that
yeah.
happen to us, all of which are early warning signs that we're kind of like not
Ignoring.
taking very good care of ourselves. And so you have to start paying attention to that and tuning into what your body wants and tuning into how foods you eat make you feel.
That's very true.
Because
I,
most
yeah,
people do not make a connection that they ate something and then 2 hours later
they're not.
they have a headache, they feel foggy in the brain, they don't they their intestine is a little bit upset and they don't link it back to what they just ate. And you have to start making those connections going, wait a minute, when I eat this happens. And and by making those connections, you can eliminate things that are not good for you and start paying attention to what is good for you.
Yes. This has been a very illuminating conversation, to say the least. And like you said, I think what stands out most is that gut brain touches everything. It touches your mood, it goes to your focus, your creativity, intuition, and your bodies are giving us signals all the time that we need to pay attention to. And like you said, when your gut is balanced, we feel more, our thoughts are more clear, our emotions are steadier, and our energy just flows naturally. Um, I would like to thank you again, Stephen, for sharing your insight and herbal wisdom with us. I know this topic is long, and I would love to have you again on so we can discuss more in detail. And to everyone listening, remember that your gut isn't just digesting food, like Stephen said, it's digesting life. So feed it with real nourishment, kind thoughts, rhythm that supports your rest and repair. So, and to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Sunlight Sessions. Don't forget to subscribe. Share this episode with someone who could use a little brain inspiration, who has little gut problems, and keep shining from the inside out. Until next time, stay grounded, stay grateful, and stay in the sunlight. Thank you.